Welcome everybody to the Distance Learning Playbook Unpacked episode 10. 10 people, 10. Can you believe it? We're at 10 episodes, Cassidy.
I can't, but does that mean we're 10 weeks into this?
No, because we
I
did
feel
a
like
couple
our
of the
math
first
is a
week.
little off here. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
because I was like, whoa, 10 weeks of the school year done, but we're not quite there yet.
Well, we are because the end of the trimesters are coming for people who are on the trimester
Yep.
schedule, so it's coming.
Yep.
Anyways, not the most important thing. The most important thing is that we have the amazing Lizzie Gray with us today. And she's here to talk to us about getting outside help, getting some people from outside into your classroom to engage and excite your students about what is life like outside of the classroom. So thank you so much, Lizzie, for coming and joining with us and coming to talk with us. It's super cool to have you here. And you may not know, but I'm down with Lizzie. She's like super cool. She's just like one of those people. When I first met her, I was like, oh yeah, instant
Mhm.
like her. So
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
oh,
Thank you
it's
for
so
having me.
sweet.
I'm honored.
Lizzie is like, I totally agree with you, Dustin. And I feel like Lizzie is kind of the best kept secret at Lane ESD because I feel like there are like the teachers who know, they know, right? And they're emailing her and she's working with them. But like there are teachers who don't know about Lizzie, and that's a crime. So here we are today to introduce Lane County to Lizzie Gray and all of the wonderful things she has to offer. And I'll give a quick reminder that we are still doing our clinic times on Thursdays from 3 to 4, where you can drop in and get help with any of your distance learning needs.
Absolutely. And come on by. We typically just get a couple people in there, so you get individual help usually. It's pretty cool. All right. So
All right. So as always, I want to start by talking about the distance learning playbook because that's our anchor this year as we do distance learning. We were given the playbook. We may or may not have read all of the chapters. We may or may not have participated in all of the PD. But we do know that the distance learning playbook gives us some best practices for distance learning. And you've heard me say this before. I so appreciate how chapter 1 is about self-care. And I think right now in week 7 or wherever we are in this, 8, 10, nothing matters anymore. I think wherever you are in distance learning right now, just a reminder to come back to that realistic expectations for yourself. And perhaps you're at a point right now where you're feeling some real fatigue and you're feeling like you're carrying a very heavy burden right now. And so Lizzie's going to talk to us about ways, I don't want to say outsource because that sounds so mechanical, but really ways to bring in outside expertise to lighten your load a bit.
Absolutely. I like the word outsource, to be honest.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, if you like it, I like it.
it's
So,
very
whoops,
industry.
can we just,
Sounds very
can
industry.
we go back?
Oh,
Can
sorry.
we go back real quick? Because can't
Don't
remember
be.
what I was going to say next. Oh, there we go. The other thing from the distance learning playbook, they talk quite a bit about the importance of teacher credibility. And I think that it's really important to remember that as teachers, we don't have to be the expert, like the end all be all expert. And when we show that we aren't the expert by bringing in someone else who is an expert, I think we're really making ourselves real to our students, and that's going to help with student and teacher relationships. So you don't have to know every single thing about the content you teach. And I think you present as an expert when you recognize that outside expertise enhances whatever you're planning to teach. And then, of course, we're all just thinking and talking so much about engagement and just how difficult it is to be engaging in asynchronous and synchronous CDL work. So if you can think about the field trip, right? The field trip experience and ways that we can replicate that in this new environment, that might refresh things if they're feeling a little stale for you right now.
Totes.
Absolutely. I like all of those things. Honestly, I identified with a bunch of those.
I thought, so Lizzie, who are you and why would we possibly ask you to come here to talk to us today about bringing outside expertise into the classroom?
Because we are best buds. I am Lizzie Gray and I work for an organization called Connected Lane County. And we sit when everyone's in person, pre-COVID, we sit at the ESD in the school improvement department with all the specialists and CTE. And we have a program called Elevate Lane County, which is career connected learning that begins around 4th grade and continues on through graduation. if we do everything right. So students have an opportunity to engage with different Elevate Lane County programs and experiences and events each year from 4th grade on. This kind of starts with a higher student to business person ratio. So it might look like bringing an entrepreneur into the classroom for our Entrepreneur in Residence program, where we give educators 6 weeks of curriculum, and each week we bring in a different entrepreneur to talk to their class, and the students themselves are developing their own business idea throughout the 6 weeks. And then there's a little showcase at the end where they get to present their product or their idea. And that's
it's so cute to see them with their little poster boards, and they're trying to sell their product. It's so awesome.
Truly so great. And the fun part too is that we've been able to transition that into a virtual experience.
Oh, wow.
Right. So the educators can just fold that into their curriculum while they're doing CDL. And we have videos for every lesson of our entrepreneurs who have pre-recorded themselves talking about their business and talking about the main focal points of that lesson. And if an educator chooses to bring that curriculum in and to do the Entrepreneur in Residence program, some of those entrepreneurs might pop in for a live lesson.
Fun.
So yeah, that's an example of an elementary experience. And then as we jump into middle school, we really want to open students' eyes to all of the diverse careers available to them in Lane County. We plant the seed early, or we're trying to plant the seed early to get students to start thinking about what they might be interested in as far as a career goes and what they might really not be interested in. So we, again, pre-COVID, we held a large expo at the Bob Kiefer Center, and we invited about 2,000 middle schoolers to join us for the day, half the day, not the whole day. And it's controlled chaos, it's loud, it's buzzing, it's all the things. And they come in and we have like 40 to 50 businesses represented, local businesses. And they come in, it's set up a lot like a job fair, minus all the boring parts. So there's no business cards, there's no pamphlets, there's no reading materials that kids go home with. Instead, they're coming and they have a passport, and their goal for the day is to fill in that passport by talking to different businesses and trying to learn more about what they do. So our partners bring in hands-on experiences instead of leaflets. And for example, we've seen construction companies bring in 2x4s with nails and hammers, and kids race to hammer in the nail as fast as possible. Some land surveyors have come and they brought a big sand pit with hidden magnets, and the students use the surveying tools to try to find the magnets.
Making concrete, right? I saw one where they were like making concrete.
An aggregate company came and the students got to mix their own aggregate, which is incredible. And all types of fun things that keep the students engaged and also help them understand better what these businesses are doing and what appeals to them, and then what they see and they're like, oh, absolutely not. And it's just kind of a process of checking things off the list.
That's what I said about teaching. Absolutely not. There's no way I'd ever teach.
Right.
20 years later. All right.
Here we are.
So Lizzie, that sounds awesome. But I can't do that this year.
Correct.
I'm a middle school teacher now. I'm like, sweet. Like in the future, sign me up. I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to give you my name. Like I'm down for that. Like what could I do this year in my distance learning class? Is there any way to somewhat replicate that experience?
So that is the challenge. Like everyone in 2020, we have had to pivot. And we decided in the spring to pivot all of our experiences to be virtual. So we spent all summer preparing for a school year that would be entirely virtual as far as Connected Lane County's offerings go. And we decided that obviously that would not happen. The Career Expo would not happen how it has. And we decided to spread it across 2 weeks. And we had to really hone in on what the goals were for that experience. And that experience, our goals are to open students' eyes to what careers are available to them, and to give them multiple I want to call them like touch points. I don't know why that word's coming to my head, but we want them to come in and to not just see tech or to not just see construction, but to see a whole variety of careers and to hopefully just start the wheels turning about what am I drawn to? What do I like? And doing that, we decided to host 2 hour-long sessions each day for 2 weeks. So end of October, first week in November, we have our last session this morning. We invited industry partners to lead these sessions so that the students are learning from them and we're not just talking at them. So for example, today we have a session being hosted by the OCCU marketing team, and they're going to come in.
Oregon Community Credit Union.
Correct. Thank you.
Just making sure people know.
Oregon Community Credit Union and their marketing team. And they're going to host an hour-long session in which we have up to 50 students joining them. And I think today's session is full. We have 50 students joining them, and they're going to be led through a live demo where the marketing team shows them a little bit about what marketing is and what they do on a day-to-day basis. And then the other key part about our expo that we wanted to carry forward into a virtual event was the hands-on learning. So that was a big lift on our end, but we were happy to do it because we know how important it is. And we had these businesses and these session hosts come up with an activity that they think could show students a little bit a hands-on version of what they do. So OCCU said, can you give them a bag full of random things? So we went to Mecca and we filled bags with paper, popsicle sticks, tape, stickers, pom-poms, all the things. And we got those out to schools early. Schools were able to get those out to their students in time for their session. So they're going to sit down at 10 o'clock today with their marketing bag, and they're going to be led through a hands-on activity of developing a product and then developing a marketing strategy to sell that product.
Wow.
Each student's thing is going to be different. And we're just so excited that we were able to incorporate a hands-on component to a virtual experience because we think it's so impactful.
That is.
So that's awesome. And if I'm a teacher and I'm just meeting you and learning about Elevate Lane County for the first time, how can I stay in the know so that I don't miss the next opportunity to participate in something like this? Because I think we're all looking for ways to bring some hands-on learning into the classroom, no matter what we're teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So for something like the Career Expo, we get the word out kind of from the top, and then we ask principals to disseminate the information to their educators, to their 7th and 8th grade staff and teaching staff. And I think that keeping an eye on our website, so connectedlane.org, keeping an eye on that website. It's a brand new website that we actually just launched. I believe it became live last night. We have a calendar of events.
Can we take a peek at that? Dustin, can we look at the website and check out the calendar? Because I think I'm okay to say this, and I know this will resonate with teachers, that trickle down of information isn't always as reliable as we want it to be.
Totally.
And so I think that if I'm a teacher and I'm like, gosh, I really want to be connected with this, I want to know what's going on. I see this as a really valuable resource. I probably want to start looking at this myself instead of waiting for my administrator to pass this on to me. Okay, so here we are, we're in the calendar.
So side note, like I said, this went live last night. I'm in charge of populating calendar events. That has been one of my duties. And we have burned through, we've gone through most of our fall events. So we have 2 little singletons on the calendar right now.
Okay.
You bet your money that when you come back, I would say, give me a week and I'll have that all populated with all of our spring events. So the calendar will look much busier than this because it just had fall events and now we're going to transition into winter and spring events. So this is a great place to stay in the know for what we're doing and which audiences our events.
How do I know if it's for middle school or do I have to go into each one?
Yep. So it will say, I think once you start to get the hang of what we do and what we're offering, a lot of it's a series. So like tours and webinars, those are offered to high schoolers. There's no reason why a middle school student couldn't register as well. We target it to high schools and then welcome anyone who's interested in coming. But every calendar event, if done correctly, should have a registration link. It should have the date, the time, the contact person, and then ideally the target audience. But like I said, disclaimer, if it says high school, but you are a middle school teacher and you want to have your students sit in on a webinar about adaptability, we would welcome you always.
Cool. I'm seeing a link down here, the YouTube channel. So it looks like if I missed some of the fall events, I might be able to still use some of these videos.
Yep. So I guess we just tackled middle school, and then I would say that transitioning into high school, we have a lot to offer high school students because we recognize how pivotal those 4 years are, in career decision-making and post-secondary decision-making. Yeah. So hello,
There's
YouTube
a lot
channel
in here. Wow. This is great.
Oh, wow.
So if let's say I miss any of these events, but I want to do some, I could just show my class some of these videos.
Yes.
Oh, super cool.
The cool part about catching the live events is that your students get the opportunity to ask questions live. But truly, the meat of the event, the content is captured here because we record everything that we do. So we do something called Tour Tuesdays for high schools, and we've pre-recorded tours of these businesses, a whole variety of businesses, and we release those videos to students ahead of time, and then we follow up on a Tuesday. That's why they're called Tour Tuesdays. And students can join us for a live Q&A with the business people who were featured in those tour videos. So if you're watching this tour or you're watching it with your class and you'd like them to take notes of what they would ask that business person if they were sitting in a room with them, do that. Join us on a Tuesday and ask all your questions. Yeah, it's pretty great. Nice. And if you are watching the recorded version and you'd still like to have your students write down questions or just think about what they would like to ask those business people, do it and send them to me and send them to the info@connectedlanecounty.org. And we will make sure, because these are our business partners, so we will make sure that they are seeing those questions. And I guarantee you all of them would be happy to take the time to answer them.
That's super cool. So even if we miss the event, we just watched the recorded video, you can still ask questions. Oh, that's really neat.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Don't some of these videos have an accompanying lesson plan that's already been written?
They do. So all of our events come with lesson plans. We have a beautiful, wonderful specialist on our team who is an educator, and she creates lesson plans that accompany all of our events.
We've had her on the podcast.
Oh, Maddie. Yeah, great. Love her. But yeah, so she's created lessons, pre and post lessons for all of these experiences. So webinars, tours, career expos, job shadows, what have you.
And how do I
access those? Yeah.
So those you would access through registering. If you register, you are sent a lesson.
Okay, got it.
If you come and you're like, dang it, I missed all the fall events, but I want to lead my students through these, email us. Well, we have we're not trying to safeguard any of our content. It's open source. We want everyone to have it.
Cool. Just a suggestion you might do is in the video, you can put, in your little show notes here at the bottom, you could put a link if you had them linked to something. Brilliant. That'd be a kind of a cool thing for teachers. That way they don't have to email and go through that step. But
brilliant.
That's true. Let's take a peek. This is awesome, Lizzie. Let's take a peek at the fall flyer, because even though most of those events have passed, I think that giving folks an opportunity to see how you typically organize it makes it seem really accessible.
Yeah, and I will say too, although these fall events for the most part have passed, our falls and springs are mirror images of each other. Although there'll be different businesses, different webinar topics, we do a lot of the same programming from the fall to the spring. So let's pretend like this says spring 2021 calendar, because I promise you it will look like this. But I'm gonna, Manufacturing Mondays were just a way that we tried to celebrate International Manufacturing Day, which happens in October every year. And we did 4 live tours each Monday in October. And we partnered with a lot of local manufacturers. We had a planning committee that was built up of community partners, and they went off without a hitch. And we had over 3,000 views of the live streamed tours. So That won't happen in the spring for the most part because manufacturing day happens in October, but we do have our tour Tuesdays, which are a lot like the manufacturing Mondays, but they're pre-recorded. So we're gearing up for the spring right now. We have a whole list of businesses who want to give tours to us. And so in November and December, we're going to go in with a film crew and we're going to record these tours. And then we'll spend a little bit of time editing them. And then we'll release them one per week through, I think, February through May. So there will be a bunch of them. And then we'll follow up every Tuesday with a live Q&A that features those business people.
Super
Awesome.
cool. So,
I'm looking at this
is there a
list and
listserv that we can get to get this so that we don't forget about it? Because I can imagine as a teacher, this is great, but then I don't think about it in the spring to contact you again.
Absolutely. So I know that you are working with a lot of these educators. If you collected a list, we will make sure that it gets to those educators. Okay. We do have a lot of, we send out our information through multiple channels. So if you're a CTE teacher, you're going to get it. If you're a part of our Elevate work group, you're going to get it. If you're part of the Beyond High School network, you're going to get it. We go through the Lane ABS team, the Migrant Education Program. One of our coworkers works with GSAs. She'll get it to all of those allies. We send it to as many people that we have close in our corners that we know will just push it out in different channels. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to get a list together, I would be happy to make sure that they make it onto the list.
Yeah, this goes out to all of the dual credit teachers too, who are participating in Lane Regional Promise. And I think, one thing I want to point out is that a lot of these, at first glance, I might look at this and I might say, well, I don't teach a CTE class, or I don't teach like a class where this would apply. But, I was talking to a teacher yesterday, an 8th grade English teacher, who was talking about topic sentences. And I could really see using some of these videos as just a platform for students to write a summary. And I think social studies, there are lots of ways that I could see people working in some of these videos and there's even a tour in Spanish. So if I'm a language teacher, why not use that video in my Spanish class? So I really love how there is a ton of flexibility in how a teacher might use this.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And I would say too that the webinars, more than anything, in my opinion, span all content areas.
Okay, the webinars. Okay, that's good to know.
Well, the tours as well, but absolutely the tours as well. And we talk a lot about a lot of the professional skills in those webinars, in those tours. But the Working Wednesday, I always throw in Working Wednesday, but that's too many W's. The working webinars, good Lord, the working webinars are a deep dive each week into one of the New World of Work's top 10 professional skills. Okay. So Oregon is about to adopt, or has adopted, those 10 skills as the Oregon employability skills. And so they're recognized by K-12 education, by post-secondary education, by industry, as the 10 skills that we need to strengthen to be the best employees that we can be and to be work ready. Our philosophy is that at some point in a student's life, they will have a job. I don't care if it's while they're in high school, right after high school, after 8 years of post-secondary, at some point you will have a job. And so these are skills that we need to learn in order to be good employees.
Indeed.
This is awesome. Well, thanks for sharing this with us. So we only have about 7 minutes left. Can you talk to us, like, maybe I'm like, great, I'm gonna make sure that I'm paying attention to these events so that I'm able to participate in the future. But maybe you've inspired me to call upon some other outside expertise. Now, one thing that I know about you, Lizzie, is that you spend a lot of your time cold calling people because you're asking them to participate in these experiences for students. So can you give teachers some of your tips? Like, maybe I'm inspired to reach out and bring a guest speaker into my class. Some people might not know what a cold
call is, so I feel like we just have to call it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'll say first, let us be a resource for you. Absolutely let us be a resource for you. You are teaching full time. You have a full plate. This is what we're here for. We have over 400 business partners in the Lane County area. They're just sitting there. They've told us they want to participate in different student activities. And so come to us and we will hopefully be able to pair you with somebody. And if not, that's when a cold call comes in. So we do job shadows. These are for high school students. The cool part about our job shadows is that students apply and they tell us what they're interested in. We don't say we have these 10 options available to you, pick one. We say, what do you want to learn about? What career do you want to know more about? And we have seen some incredible things. But with that kind of the leaving the floor open to the students to tell us what they're interested in means that we're going to get requests for zoologists and undertakers or what is the word? Mortuary.
Morticians.
Yeah. And so we're getting
That's what I would have picked.
We're getting requests for job shadows in fields of work that we don't necessarily have established partnerships in. And that means that I have to, or my team has to pick up the phone and establish a relationship. And that's cold calling. If it goes well, that's cold calling. And I think that when people picture cold calling, they picture telemarketers. And I would say that if you choose a business to call and you are warm and you are articulate and you are just kind, our rates with cold calls have been phenomenal. And so I would encourage folks, to just try. So I have a couple tips. I've done this a lot. And I would just start out with, who, what, and what are you asking them for? So you find somebody online that has great reviews, maybe examples of their work, whatever. You give them a call. And at first I would say who you are, what organization you're calling from. And I think for teachers, this is going to be much more straightforward than me trying to explain who Connected Lane County is, especially since we're just a unique organization. So tell them, my name is Lizzie Gray and I'm a 9th grade teacher at Cottage Grove High School. I have a student who really wants to, learn more about what being a mortician is. Are you open to job shadows? And then it's common that you'll be talking to somebody who answers the phone and maybe a receptionist, and they're not typically the folks who are going to answer those questions. So he or she will be like, well, I don't know, but let me ask so-and-so, can I have your information? So I would say, always remember the name of the person that you talk to. Try your best to keep the phone calls short. They don't need to know everything about the student who wants to job shadow. They don't need to know all of the details about the job shadow, but I would make sure that you get an email from them and that you follow up quickly with those details. Keep your email short, keep them brief, give them just exactly what you need from them, date, time. I've also learned I've learned that giving industry partners a set date and time rather than saying, we're open, what works for you? Saying on October 29th from 3 to 4, can so-and-so show up to shadow with you? Or can they do a virtual job shadow with you? Works much better than leaving it open, because that opens the door for way too much back and forth.
Yeah,
and then
it seems like you want to be like, hey, would this work? But I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
But Lizzie, as I hear you talking, and I'm a teacher, like, no way am I trying to coordinate a job shadow right now, right? I mean, I think everything you're saying too applies for like, hey, come be a guest speaker in my
100%.
Class, right?
Yes.
Because really, like, you're the resource for me for figuring out the job shadow.
Right. Let us do that heavy lifting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our job shadow
awesome.
application exists on our website, and it stays there year round. We do open job shadows in the fall and in the spring, so it's not open year round, but that link will be there and it will tell you if we're accepting applications or not. Okay. And yeah, I would say that cold calling goes for any request, be it a panel, be it a guest speaker, all types of things. So yeah, absolutely. Great point.
That's great. Yeah. Thanks for those tips.
Yeah. That's really good. Being kind is kind and clear, right?
This goes a long way. It does. And to call and to be excited, but to have a succinct ask, without kind of bogging them down with the details, because I think that's when folks start to just get maybe nervous, or they think that they're not qualified to be training a student or whatever. And they're not training, they're just showing what their day-to-day life as a mortician is.
Right.
So, I mean, you all do this all the time, right? And so I'm wondering, if I'm a teacher and I know that, if I got a mortician to come in and talk to my 8th grade English class, I would have no problem getting some paragraphing out of that. So maybe I decide, okay, great, you've inspired me. Like, I'm going to just start cold calling these funeral homes. Do you have, as a resource, like some questions that I could use with my guest speakers? Because I think sometimes when people are asked to be a guest speaker, they don't, they're like, well, what would I don't really know. And so do you have that as a resource that a teacher could just reach out to you and ask for?
So yes, I have a couple things to say quickly about that. So I would say that absolutely, we could supply those questions. I would encourage educators to ask their students for some questions ahead of time. I think that often we think we know what students want to know about or learn about, and we're off the mark. So I always think that asking the students is important. And then I would say that by watching our tours and webinars, you're gonna pick up on some of the common questions that we ask. And they might be phrased a little bit differently depending on what industry or what sector we're learning about that day. But you'll see the core questions that we ask, and by all means, take them and run with them. They're yours.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, okay. One last question for you, Lizzie. If I I have an idea and I'm just not quite sure, like if I want a panel or a guest speaker, or I just sort of have this idea and you've inspired me to reach out to the community for some support, can I send you an email and will you help me?
100%. And if you are just thinking through how to change, so you want to go on a field trip, but you want it to be hands-on and it has to be virtual, and you want to think through that, let us be a thought partner. Yeah,
awesome.
That is what we are here for.
Thank you.
So
Let's make sure we get Lizzie's email address in the slide deck. I don't know if it's at the bottom or not. So
yep, we will definitely.
Yeah, let's make sure to throw in the info@connectedlanecounty.org one as well.
Okay.
So it's not person dependent and it's organization dependent.
Cool.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, a couple other resources to highlight while we have you in that theme of reaching out to bring in outside expertise. I've reached out several times for the U of O's International Cultural Service Program. I just checked their website yesterday. They are still offering guest speakers for the classroom. And so I've signed up for this before, and it's a really great opportunity to expose your students to new voices, new perspectives, and new cultures. These are their international students who come in and give presentations. And this really is all virtual at this point. Yeah, and I've never been disappointed. And it's free, and it's a wonderful community resource. So click on that link and check them out if you're interested in bringing in an international student to present to your classes.
I think the most interesting one that I had was somebody from Palestine, and she talked about how it's mandatory to be in the military. And so she talked about her military experience and what that conflict is like, and living in the Gaza Strip. And it was like, what? So anyways, it's crazy.
Yeah. And you can also, there's no limit either to how many you can request. So, when I was teaching middle school social studies, I was like a frequent customer because I feel like this is just a great way to bring in some outside expertise that really, these are people who know how to connect with student audiences. That's what they do through this program. And then also TED Talks. It's not the same as having a live person in your classroom, but if you look through those libraries, there are tons of current events, hundreds of topics, lots of ways that you could bring another voice and another perspective into your classroom. And then another site that I don't feel like enough people know about is The Moth, which is a collection of recorded stories. These are podcasts, and some of them even have educator resources, lesson plans that you can use. So if you're looking for 3 additional ways to bring outside expertise into your classroom, these are my 3 recommendations.
Is The Moth similar to like StoryCorps in NPR? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
very nice.
It is.
I love them.
And definitely listen to them ahead of time. Some of them are designed for a more mature audience. So
explicit,
as with everything, want to listen to that ahead of time. All right, great. Well, we will get Lizzie's contact info onto our slide deck.
Yeah, we'll put it right here probably. Yeah.
And you can definitely find her contact info and the info. What is it? info@connectedlanecounty.org from visiting the Connected Lane County website.
Yes.
Awesome. Lizzie, thank you again so much for coming and sharing all of your wisdom and your available, all this resources that are available to teachers. I feel like I have a lesson planned every 2 weeks for the next 4 months. So I'm pretty psyched.
I love it. Then we did our job.
I
Yeah.
think too, another way that I really see someone reaching out to you, Lizzie, and your team is like just within that ideation. I think it's really hard. A lot of teachers have like a big idea, and we know that project-based learning is going to be a way to engage students right now, but we're sort of overwhelmed by putting that together. And I feel like that's really where Elevate can step in and do some of that lift. So how might we bring this idea into an actual project? So thanks for being a resource for Lane County teachers.
Happy to be. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good week, and we'll see you when all this election stuff is over. Hopefully,
Woohoo.
hopefully in a week we'll have this decided. Hopefully,
Please don't say that.
Ah. Oh
we'll
boy.
see. All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.